What up to all the new viewers, all the subscribers, all the Patreon members? I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. You guys want to support me? Link is in the description box below for the Patreon page. I will upload a new video later on today in the next couple of hours for all the Patreon members. All right. So here we have an article brought to you by the New York Post. This article has been plastered all over social media. It's made it to the New York Post. Usually stuff like this only makes it to the local news in Thailand. All right. Because, Thais in Thailand, they have news publications like Tiger.com. I think it's probably ran by foreigners, but they have the Bangkok Post, Tiger, and a list of other news publication sites. And they post fights all the time. This week alone, if I go to Tiger.com, it's this foreigner knocked out this foreigner. This guy knocked out two foreigners. These three lady boys knocked out this guy just this week alone. All right. So I'm wondering why they singled out this. All right. So as you can see right here, giant bodybuilder knocks out drunk tourist in wild street fight outside a bar. I'm not going to play the video, but for those that don't know, I've either lived or traveled abroad for the last 17 years now. I lived in Asia for 8 years. I spent about 5.5 years out of those 8 years in Thailand. All right. I've been to, this happened in Pattaya. I've been there several times. I lived in Bangkok for a number of years. I lived in little towns outside of Bangkok as well. I don't want to go down the list, but I know the culture of Thailand pretty well. All right. There's fights that happen all the time. There's Thais fighting other Thais. I've seen Japanese people, Japanese men fighting each other, foreigners fighting each other, but they make it a big deal when foreigners get into it. Okay. Whenever you're placed in an environment where there's alcohol and possibly drugs as well, you're going to have altercations. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Okay. I used to live in North Dakota. That town that I lived in North Dakota, they had about 2 or 3 bars that everybody used to go to. There were fights all the time. There were people knocking each other out every single night. Okay. Austin, Texas, there's fights all the time. There was actually a mass shooting the other night down 6th Street in Austin. You have an area where there's alcohol, there's going to be violence, there's going to be altercations. Okay. So they call this guy a bodybuilder. He doesn't really look like a bodybuilder to me. Just a tall guy that's in the gym, right? Sure, bodybuilders are in the gym, but this isn't somebody who's this doesn't look like, if you actually watch the video, it doesn't look like somebody who's in competition, that competes on stage. He just looks like somebody who is active, here and there. He doesn't look competition ready or prep or anything like that. Just, everybody in the video kind of look like they're in and out of the gym either at some point in time or regularly. But they called him a bodybuilder. And what happened was he was at a bar and there were 2 or 3 other guys that were much shorter than him. The tall guy, he was with his Thai girl at a bar and it was messing with him. So they went outside and somebody got the brakes beat off of him. So let me read it and then I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents. Wild video shows a giant bodybuilder brawling with 2 other tourists outside a Thai bar, with one of them smacking into a parked truck while desperately trying to backpedal away. The huge muscle man, also believed to be a tourist, was filmed swinging wildly at the smaller men Thursday in Pattaya, a city dubbed Sin City because of its reputation for sex and crime. The barefoot bodybuilder, yeah, because at first I thought he had on flip-flops. He didn't have on anything. So he probably started off with flip-flops. Um, and that's my advice to you. Don't go anywhere with slides or sandals or flip-flops unless you're just in the vicinity of your apartment complex. If you're going out into the street, you're leaving your apartment complex, put on some shoes because you might get into a situation like this and you need your shoes. The barefoot bodybuilder showing off his physique in a skimpy t-shirt and shorts flattened one of them while the back pedaled, they should have put while they backpedaled into the parked vehicle nearby. Okay. Two drunken brawl with a bodybuilder in a Thailand tourist resort. This ain't a resort. It's probably down Walking Street. The tourists were left worse for wear after the fight. Okay. And this must be supposedly his woman of the night comforting him. The tourists believed to be British clashed with a larger man after leaving a bar, according to local reports. Around 2 or 3 people tried to gang up on a tall, muscular foreigner who was with a Thai woman. But even though there were more of them, they couldn't overpower him. The battered men ages 25 to 30. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. This age range right here were taken to a local hospital. One was left with a dislocated hip and facial cuts, while the other was knocked out cold. Okay, y'all are too young to be getting your hip dislocated. Okay, this wasn't a car accident or a motorcycle accident. You guys were trying to gang up on a taller man for some reason. Okay. So I'm a tall man. I'm 6'3". Okay. I'm in the gym, heavy. And I want to tell you this. I've never been a guy to make fun of somebody's height. Okay. I'm witty enough to where if I'm going to clown you, or if we're roasting, we're in a roast session, or I'm cutting on you, as we call it in San Antonio, then I'm wittier enough. I'm witty to the point where I don't need to make fun of your height. Okay. There's a list of other things that I could call you out on besides your height. I've never made fun of anybody because of their height. All right. But somebody that I follow on Instagram, he posted up an article this was last year. And the article was somewhere along the lines of, a nightclub either was in America or was probably in the UK somewhere. I forgot. It was a news article that he posted, and it said nightclub has height requirement for this nightclub. You have to be this height or taller to be able to go into the nightclub. And the guy that I follow, he's a comedian, and his caption says something along the lines of, well, that's great, because this will alleviate a bunch of angry little men starting fights or shootings in the nightclub, somewhere along the lines of what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but he had more of a comedic twist to it. And that got me thinking when he said that. I said, man, throughout my life, some of the biggest pests, not all of them, some of the biggest pests that I've ever met in my life were guys who were short in stature. It's either one extreme to another. Either short guys, they're very cool, laid back, easygoing, can take a joke, never angry, or they're always extremely emotional. The Napoleon complex. Okay. I did a live stream before on this channel and told you that, a lot of shorter guys or a lot of males that are insecure about their heights, they always say, man, if I was only a little bit taller, people will respect me more. I've heard guys say this. Man, it doesn't get easier when you're taller. People always try to challenge you when you're taller, because when you're tall, it's, if I got my ass whooped, this guy that's laying on the ground, this guy can say, well, I had heart. They'll say that at least he had heart to stand up for himself. So it's almost a win-win situation. Even though he got knocked out, people are going to give him the benefit of the doubt and said he had heart, or they're going to say that, they're not going to give that much credit to the taller guy. Yeah, the tall guy knocked him out, but he had heart. And if this little guy were to knock the taller guy out, he would have gotten a lot of credit. It would have been a boost to his ego, and he wouldn't have stopped. He's not going to stop right here. He's probably not going to stop right here, even him being knocked out. He's probably still going to continue this behavior. All right, because whatever it was, I'm pretty sure it had nothing to do with money. Nothing was stolen from him. You guys are drunk in the middle of the day, just Napoleon complex, insecure, starting shit. But I don't know what happened. Maybe this guy was messing with him. Maybe this taller guy was messing with the shorter guys, talking slick to them. I don't know. You never know. All right. So he gets credit either way it goes. I'm shorter. I got knocked out. I had heart. If I would have knocked him out, then it would have been a boost to my ego, and my reputation would have grew. Right. This video would have went even more viral had he knocked him out than what it is already. All right. But after that comedian made that post and said, hey, that's good that they have a height requirement for at this club, because this will get rid of all the little men with the Napoleon complex starting fights or shootings outside of the club. This will get rid of all those problems. And I said to myself, I had to come to a realization. I was like, man, the majority of people that were like a bug to me, and you really got to step up and take it to this level, were people who were about 5'7" or shorter, right? They love to cross that line and to cross that boundary all the time, especially with a lot of taller people, because in their minds, it's almost a win-win situation for them. All right. Now, let's look at the fight in general. This fight, it went viral. I didn't read the comments because I probably already know what the comments said. I could go to it. I got my phone right here. But I'm pretty sure the comments probably say something along the lines of, hey, man, have respect for the culture. They have no respect. Dumbass Westerners. People that didn't even read the article, they're probably going to say dumbass Americans fighting each other when they're not Americans. They're British, right? Dumbass Americans fighting. This makes us look bad. Have respect for the culture. This, that, and the third. Okay. But like I said, I can pull up articles this week alone of Thais fighting each other. Okay. Thais shoot each other in Thailand. Thais shoot each other. They fight each other all the time in Thailand. I don't even need to pull up the articles just this week alone of Thais fighting each other. I live there. I live there. Thais, I'm not going to say people brawl in the streets all the time, but there's always fights going along or going on. Lady boys jumping tourists, tourists jumping tourists. And let me tell you, whatever race you are, it doesn't matter if you're white, black, Hispanic, East Indian, right? Doesn't matter where you're from. You are going to absorb this, okay? Because the face of this right here, even though these are Caucasian males, they're going to blame this on foreigners. They're going to say, hey, this is a problem with foreigners coming over here fighting people or fighting each other, fighting in the street. You're going to absorb this level of violence right here because it's two Caucasian males. Now, if this was two Africans or two Black Americans that were fighting, they're going to say it's a black issue. They're going to point at black people and say, okay, these blacks are coming over here fighting this, and a third. But when it's somebody that's Caucasian descent fighting in the street, everybody absorbs this. They're going to say it's a foreigner issue, right? And this is an isolated incident. It happens all the time. It doesn't matter what the race is. People are going to fight, especially when you're serving alcohol in the middle of the day like this. And at night, it really turns up when there's women involved. You have I'll just say allegedly. I'm gonna put air quotes and say allegedly. There's a lot of sex workers in this area, and alcohol, and foreigners. There's plenty of women to go around, but it's not so much what somebody is saying or doing around the woman that you have at the moment. It's about them disrespecting you. And you have a choice. You could either get up and walk away, or you could defend yourself. This person chose to defend himself, and look at the results. Okay. Now I've seen the video. This man, you can tell he's never, he's never became a member at a dojo or a boxing gym, probably ever in his life. He just had the reach advantage, the height advantage, and everybody in this video was swinging wildly. Okay. But the results, he got the results he wanted for defending himself. Okay. Could this have been prevented? I don't know. My thing is this: leave people alone. There's a lot of jealous and aggressive foreigners out there. No matter what their height is, no matter what race they are, there's always people that's going to try you. And you have a choice, right? Because I'm pretty sure it might not end here. They might try to find out who this guy is so they can bring him in for questioning and probably try to charge him for disturbing the peace. Now, if it's a group of Thais fighting in the street, nothing's going to happen to them. Nothing is going to happen to them. But the thing is since you're a foreigner, and a lot of times, especially in countries that are developing nations, a lot of times they try to blame their transgressions on foreigners. So anything that happens, you see, hey, these foreigners are the problem. That's why we're going through this. That's why this is happening. That's why this is happening. It's these foreigners. So we got to send a strong message, even though, man, look, they make a fight. They turn a fight into world news. They look right here, world news. They turn a fight in a foreign country into world news because a couple of foreigners are brawling down a red light district. All right. But they don't turn some of the things when foreigners come over here and they get involved with crime, gangs, they sell counterfeit items, counterfeit food, right? They get into shootouts. They're stealing catalytic converters off of people's vehicles, right? They're moving weight. They're selling firearms. That doesn't turn into world news. But you getting to a fight with another foreigner, that can turn into world news. And now, whoever this guy is that got knocked out, and this guy right here, you've made it to the front page of the New York Post, and it's being shared all over social media. So when you go back home, you're popular for all the wrong reasons. Now the people who are probably this height, who live near you, they're going to say, oh, okay, I walked away. I didn't want to pick on somebody of a smaller stature. I don't want to get in trouble. Now they know that you got a glass jaw. You have no skills. And you're an easy target for people that you pissed off back home. Right? My advice to y'all is this. If you're ever in a situation, I'm kind of an introvert anyway. When I go out, I usually like to kick it by myself. I don't drink. I don't really go to bars or anything. I don't need to go to a bar to pick up a girl. I can make a phone call. I can go to a website. I can go to an app and bring a woman over to my spot. You see what I'm saying? You have a lot of foreigners. I'm not saying for you not to do that. I'm just saying my sort of fun is a little bit different. right? My fun isn't going to a bar or a club. I think clubs and bars are kind of it's a thing in the past. Having fun at a bar or a club is a thing in the past. It's not what it used to be, right? My sort of fun is going to malls, riding on boats along the Pattaya River, going to museums, going to tourist destinations, right? Going to Megabangna Mall. They got a lot of, you know, different spots for couples to hang out at over there. All right. Even going to a night train market. It doesn't have to be a bar. This could have happened at a night train market also. But here's the thing. When you go someplace and somebody's trying you, I'm always going to tell you to defend yourself. But if you could diffuse the situation by walking away, do it, because you never know what it's going to lead to. It could lead to your arrest. Look at Wendell Brown in China. He defended himself. Then he ended up being locked up in a Chinese jail for 4 years over somebody attacking him and him defending himself. They don't play fair in some of these other countries. So while your face is being plastered on world news and you're being criticized for y'all monkeying around overseas, right? They're going to say that, foreigners, this is an L for foreigners and passport bros, right? Look at passport bros overseas. That's what they're going to say. They're not going to say, look at immigrants and what they do in Canada. Even though Canadians, they call it out all the time, it doesn't make it to world news, right? Immigrants that come over to America and the crimes they commit, some of the foul things that they do when they come over here, it doesn't even really make it to world news. It'll make it to local news on a small scale, but it doesn't get plastered all over social media, right? The fights, the shootings, the robberies, the drug sales, the kidnappings, the sex trafficking that they do in America, it doesn't make world news, right? But you make it to the world news, New York Post section. Why? Because you're a foreigner. All right? You're not a protected class. I mean, these guys, you can say in their home country they're a protected class, but your image is going to be what's wrong with the world, right? Look at them. They can't control themselves. Most people can't control themselves on alcohol, drugs and alcohol, but they're going to make an example out of you. They're not going to make an example out of them. And everybody of every race is going to absorb this. You absorb their image. All right? So I'm over and I'm out. You guys take care. I'll see you guys on Patreon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll do another live stream either next week or this Tuesday. Either Tuesday or next Friday. All right. See you guys next time. Peace.